Good day everybody, welcome to the second video of Monday. This one's going to be going over the Spotlight for first of all Knull, and then there'll be another video looking at anti-venom. So some things that we discussed in today's MCN, which was all about the fact there's some good things about some of these champions. Some of them are kind of a bit, well, I'm undecided on, and it's all about, you know, testing out the champion, figuring out rotations and those kind of things. But yeah, let's go over some information of Knull. Knull Spotlight is going to be available on the forum, so make sure to go and check out that if you want a good read. We're going to give a good read over it ourselves. As a Cosmic champion, it is cool to have another Cosmic, but at the same time, it's like, could they have bent the kind of the will a little bit, kind of gone a bit mystic, and saying some of the features could be over kind of like encroaching into that? Probably not, but it's one of these things of going like, right, the Cosmic line is getting very stacked at the moment. But I guess it kind of is what it is with that. Command say Knull's mechanics is wields an all black, well, no, it doesn't really mean much, but which he uses to inflict instant bleeds. He also commands a hive of symbiotes, stripping away armor buffs and allowing him to restore health. That's good. Knull can take control over any fight by corrupting his opponents, drastically lowering their combat rate, inflicting armor breaks, and reversing their controls. Reverse controls is really annoying, and I was thinking about this champion being a good option for the utilization of Archangel as a kind of counter. It may be other ones we kind of have to look at, maybe Mystic champions or something like that. But, you know, there could be some good points from this champion. I am actually looking forward to both these champions because they work very nicely with Suicide Masteries. So there's a 40% degeneration resistance and a 60 plus 60% bleed and poison resistance, which is good for Suicide Masteries interaction. Even more so if there's regen. Every 10 hits in the opponent's combo meter inflicts an indefinite darkness passive, lowering combat rating by 15%. And that's good because this kind of like, it's not necessarily the quintessential power control champion, but at least it's going to be something of a weird kooky option that you may want to take into certain circumstances and situations. So, okay, that's cool. So what else? Okay, what else? And it's corruption. Corruption's a passive, but also there's some other stuff as well. And the way that corruption works is that Knull inflicts corruption on his opponents using special attacks, causing the following effects. The opponent's armor break debuffs are paused. On activation, converts indefinite living abyss debuffs on the opponent to armor break debuffs at lower armor rating by 233.33 for 10 seconds, depending on rarity. And for each armor up effect, inflicts an armor break debuff, reducing armor rating by X amount over 10 seconds. The opponent suffers from 3.25% current power rate drop for each. Minus, it's a drop. Armor break max 65%. The opponent massively suffers from reverse controls. Yeah, not a massive fan of that. That's kind of, it made it more of a defensive line, unless the new solo competitive is going to be a bit of a thing. So that's really kind of my starter of kind of like inverted controls. Well, that's more damaging to you playing against that champion, and from the defensive standpoint, that can be really frustrating. From a point of view playing it in an attacking format, it's just like, well, this game isn't PvP, so anybody on the other side, you're going to see like champions going, AI champions going, oh no, oh I'm going forward, oh I don't know what I'm doing. You just don't get it. So it's just like, at times I do look at these situations and go like, whatever with that. But still, it's cool to have this champion have utility at the point of reducing down armor rate building or combat power rate building, because, you know, it's annoying not to have like a Cosmic champion with a sufficient power control option. This is a bit of a rarity, and a nice rarity at that. So let's have a look at the abilities. Symbiote Attacks, which is Symbiote Attacks passively gain true accuracy, ignoring evade and auto block effects. Very handy in situations of champions having evade and auto block. You know, many Spidey champions. Great, fantastic to have. But it's just understanding rotations, because that's going to be a thing as well. Medium, heavy, and special one attacks, and what kind of like, I don't know, mode that you kind of keep yourself and put you in. And that's going to be a thing about consistency. And are you in a mode? No, you're not. And that's something to play about, and whether or not it actually feels like it's, you know, a usable thing. Because it's like saying, right, well, if you're in symbiote attack mode for doing one medium, then if you for whatever reason don't do a second medium or do a light, is that light attack going to be evaded if you're going up against a Spideyverse champion? There's a lot of fundamentals need to be found out more about. So while the opponent is not corrupted, landing a hit or striking into a block has a 75% chance to inflict indefinite Living Abyss debuff, removing one armor up buff. While the opponent is corrupted, consume 3 armor break debuffs to inflict 3 Living Abyss debuffs, regenerate 10% of hit damage, and inflict a degeneration debuff. Okay, nice. Good to see in practice how that's going to work. And it's a good amount of direct damage. The ability does not trigger when using the medium one attack. Okay, so note from the developer says, use symbiote attacks to build up Living Abyss debuffs before corrupting the opponent to convert them all into armor break debuffs. While corruption is active, symbiote attacks can be used to consume armor breaks in order to lifesteal some health and refund Living Abyss stacks. This can be great for longer fights or when you're looking to top up Knull's health. That may be good for giving options against like content in Act 7 bosses in, well, I use it lightly, Abyss of Legends, or yeah, large hit pool fights. Could even use it in Realm of Legends if you're kind of looking for an option. Not Realm of Champions, that's a different game altogether. There's also this other thing called Necro Attacks or Necro Sword Attacks, which is that light and special 2 attacks pause the duration of the opponent's corruption for 1.25 seconds, while the opponent is corrupted, inflict an instant bleed, dealing 65% of hit damage as direct damage. And Necro Sword Attacks can be extend the duration of corruption and have a lethal instant bleed, dealing a large fraction of damage dealt on hit. This means that any boosts to Knull's attack rating are twice as valuable. Ooh, sounds nice. And the SP1 is on activation, inflicts an encroaching corruption lasting for 10 seconds. Upon expiring, inflict corruption for 10 seconds. While fighting a defender, encroaching corruption will inflict corruption while the attacker is performing a special attack. And the special attack is vital to Knull's playstyle. He uses to inflict encroaching corruption, which works similar to encroaching stun. And inflict 10 armor break debuffs on the SP2, and then inflict a corruption for a longer time when it comes to the SP3 on Rend. The signature ability allows Knull to start the fight with a Living Abyss debuff and the opponent shortening his gameplay loop. It gives him a window to attack opponents whenever corruption is activated. Lastly, it allows him to remove the corruption opponent's regeneration effect as long as they are below 50% of their max health. So it's super useful for quest buffs like Vigorous Assault. Okay. Yeah, sounds overly complex for this champion, but I'm sure that a lot of players will kind of like will love it. There's also some other things with the signature ability. All champions except Knull gain a +2 modified attack rating. That's not too... all of it except Knull. So this is all stuff to benefit other champions, which is like... fine. I guess that is what it is. It does very much seem from the outset of like reading some of these abilities and what I've seen with the champion deep dive, that it's like armor breaks are a key element to this champion. Reverse controls is still a weird, questionable thing to put in a champion's kit. But as we've learned with the solo competitive mode, it can be relatively helpful. It's just the thing is, that, as I said, like if you're going up against enemy AI, then it's like, well, Kabam's enemy AI doesn't get reverse control, so therefore you don't see it slipping up, because essentially that's what it'd be like us as players, but the opposite way. Like I half the time don't get why it's in there as a play kit thing. It's more of a benefit for defensive properties for things like Alliance Wars and, as I said, this solo competitive mode that's coming very, very soon. Other than that, the champion looks to have some good regeneration abilities, interaction with Suicide Mastery, so it should mean that the potency of this champion should be there. Some of the deep dives, I'm not really seeing a huge amount of damage. The bleed, burst stuff does seem quite cool, and the armor break side of things and the building up and ramping up of damage by kind of like doing that and transferring those Living Abyss debuffs into armor breaks do seem like a good enough rotation. It's just a case of going like, well, we need to test this out really to figure out, number one, is it going to be sustainable for the likes of Abyss of Legends and other long-ended content, or is it going to be a very much kind of good quester for the likes of Act 7 for just general monthly stuff?
and indeed like kind of doing some things with Cavalier nodes and that kind of stuff. But in any case, thoughts in the comment section about this Knull fella and whether or not you might be going for him or not. Yep, that has been the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the anti-venom video in a second.